Every one of us have a different situation, but nevertheless, that stress and anxiety coming and feeding each other from different angles. And of course, we talked about it from emotional point of view, how to identify emotion, how to move that feeling from one state to another state, how to recognize it and soften that emotion, how we can deal with it in terms of different tools. But also we perfectly understand that anxiety and any emotion, it's about our certain biochemical, physiological state. And we also need to recognize that, because by recognizing and dealing with it, so we can also minimize impact of this emotion on our health and well-being. So what is important to understand, so everyone has a different anxiety feeders to their state, if you want. The aim, try to identify your sort of personal anti-anxiety solution from food point of view, from eating pattern point of view. The first point I want to make that the food sensitivities and intolerances, identified or non-identified, but they exist in many of us, they really causing lots of that additional stress to our digestive system, which contributes to the emotional state. And also it's causing inflammation and that kind of delayed allergic reaction, which trigger histamine. And the histamine is, interestingly enough, it's a kind of a modulator of neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are molecules which are our brain central nervous system using for communicating between cells, between neurons and between neurons to other cells. So it has a direct impact. Know your products which you're responding to, not just allergy wise, but sensitivity, intolerance wise. Yeah, there is a test you can do, but also just try to maybe have a rota of the products and just to see if I withdraw that product, how do I feel? Does it give me an extra benefit or it doesn't change anything? Or maybe I feel worse because I'm not eating certain product. It would be nice if you can record and monitor what exactly you're eating and your sensations, feelings, you know, a few days after. So then you can kind of compare and pair that feeling and possible food. They may give you small reaction, but in a combination, they can definitely add to, you know, significantly to that anxiety pool and the stress pool in your body overall. Another thing of course, I just would like to continue with the digestive system. It's a possible leaky gut. If you suspect that, then again, they just try to avoid too big guys who are contributing to leaky gut, and you probably know it's a gluten and casein. So because they are undigested molecules, you know, going to the bloodstream and affecting our behavior and affecting our emotional state. But of course, the dysbiosis by itself and having lots of pathogenic bacteria, yeast, and parasites contributing a lot to, again, to the stress and anxiety by releasing lots of toxins. The only candida by itself producing about 170 toxins, okay? But if you also have some parasites and pathogenic bacteria, it's like a whole general pool giving you this toxicity, causing inflammation, causing histamine reaction, and has a direct neurotoxic impact on the central nervous system. But what is also interesting, and again, we forget to remember that, so if you've got healthy gut, which producing 50% of your dopamine, and good bacteria producing about 85% of your serotonin, you know, that's a big resource we may missing if your gut is not balanced well. So even from that perspective, it's really, really, huge reminder, address your dysbiosis, if any. From gut perspective, also, what I see very often now, kind of sluggishness of bile, which is involved in detoxification of many toxins, including hormones. If the hormones are recirculating in our body and the liver and gallbladder they're not working properly, it's really big impact on your sort of recurring symptoms. All these kind of digestive issues are big factor which contributing to your anxiety. So what can be done about it? Of course, address your digestive health. So start maybe looking into the GABS diet, at least to some degree, starting maybe from the full spectrum of the food, excluding the obvious things which disturbing the gut integrity. Try to heal gut, and that's the GABS diet is really good for that. If you're really overwhelmed and if you don't have a time, then glutamine-based supplements can be very helpful at this period. So I always say supplements is a temporary solution, but sometimes we need that temporary solution to give us that kind of relief, the break, and sense of we're doing something good for ourselves and feeling better, and get more energy to get through the difficult period, and then address it probably in a better, more profound way using the diet. In terms of bile, that's lots of what we call beta herbs, and then beta, then beta. That's kind of helping your bile moving around. If you notice that, probably you've got issues with digestion of fat, for example. If you've got maybe yellowish, instead of white part of your eyes, it's a little bit yellowish, maybe yellowish skin, all that kind of suggests that you probably don't digest fat properly, and it suggests that your bile is not in an optimal state. So again, having beta herbs in your diet can be very helpful. Something like eating rucola, dandelion greens, radish, artichoke, very good. You can use that skin of orange and lemon, just adding to your smoothies, for example. That's also helping bile moving along. Make sure, obviously, that product organic, because if you take the skin from fruits, they should be organic. Otherwise, we're adding more toxins. So the lemon water in the morning, apple cider vinegar, also really helping to release that kind of bile thickening effect and sluggishness. So the next factor can be very important, and again, we mentioned that briefly, the sex hormones. Of course, the estrogen, which you really need, and it's actually links to serotonin, and we feel very good where the estrogen on a good level. Okay, so we need just the right amount to make us happy, but also if estrogen is not sort of removed from our body and keeps recirculating, because again the liver and the gallbladder don't work properly, or something else happening in your body, then you've got estrogen dominant. So we really need to make sure the estrogen comes, doing its job, and then sort of leaving the body, because the new is synthesizing and coming. So the balance between estrogen, which is linked to the serotonin, and progesterone, another hormone, needs to be there. Progesterone is a kind of depression, if you want, linked the hormone, but it's needed to bring the estrogen in balance. What is also interesting, the estrogen is on a sort of a nutrient level linked to copper, and the progesterone linked to zinc. And these copper zinc balance, it's like a calcium magnesium kind of seesaw, so important for our emotional state. That's why, especially for people who've got PMS symptoms, sex hormones disbalance, science ask you to think about it and maybe test your copper level and of course the zinc level. With the zinc level, it's interesting because we can actually do that test at home. You can get just a liquid zinc. You can easily buy, at least on iHerbs, that's for sure. And you can taste that zinc and see if you feel it or not. So if you put the zinc in your mouth and feel like, oh, that kind of things, that's fine. You have enough zinc in your body. If you don't feel that strong taste, so your zinc level probably a little bit low. If you don't feel that disgusting taste of zinc, so you have a real depletion on the zinc level. And then we really need to focus to bring that zinc in your body back, because then your seesaw zinc and copper can be definitely making huge role in your emotional state, okay? Zinc rich food like pumpkin seeds and meat and oysters and the seafood and etc. So you just try to focus that food and bring it in your life. And if it's still not enough, and if you have that liquid zinc, you can keep tasting that. So see how you improving. Then you also have supplements, zinc-based supplements. If you've got white spots on your nails, that's also suggests you have a low level of zinc, which needs to be corrected, okay? Also, I wanted to mention, sometimes it's not very obvious, our ability to handle sugar. The stabler level of sugar in our blood, then the stabler your anxiety and emotional state. That's why it's so important to eat the right food, to avoid at least this big factor which contributing to the general pool of anxiety, okay? Protein in each meal gives that kind of stability of the sugar in the blood. And that's important. If you don't eat anything else, just a little bit of protein, it already would be great, like a little egg or yogurt or better kefir, of course. Something you do at home, because also it's a probiotic food. Less sugar, less fruits also, and the dry fruits. So try to keep that balance right. And eating, if you have to eat carbohydrates, eating the whole complex carbohydrates, because anything white, flour, rice, sugar, it's not good for us. It's very easy giving energy. And what I also want to mention here, the neurotransmitter level. These molecules, neurotransmitters, which basically language between neuronal cells and neurons and to other cells in our body, actually made from, amino acids, okay? When amino acids contributes to that neurotransmitters we all need in a sufficient level, they also need additional molecules like vitamins and minerals as a cofactor to make that neurotransmitter. We need to remember there is a few important neurotransmitters which contributes to our mood and anxiety state. First of all, it's a GABA, which is a calming down neurotransmitter. Serotonin, of course, as you know, happy hormone, we call it. And if your body doesn't produce enough serotonin, low level contributes to anxiety. Then another group of the neurotransmitters, of course, the endorphins, which makes us happy, we feel pleasure, and of course catecholamines, which are dopamine, adrenaline, that kind of stuff, which again absolutely necessary for our proper existing, for our adequate response to situation around us and how we feel it. So what I try to say here, so we need adequate amount of amino acids is a part of your food, is a part of your nutritional input in your body as a building material to build that neurotransmitters. So, and that, first of all, comes from protein, because the protein is a source of amino acid. Maybe you should revise what you're eating and make sure you've got diversity of different proteins, because different amino acids comes from different proteins, and also the vitamins and the minerals again. So that's why lots of vegetables to eating along with that can be very, very important. There is a certain genetic condition called pyroluria, which links to depleted level of zinc and vitamin B6, and as a part of, or as a result of that, low level of iron in the body. That can be additional factor which contributing to your anxiety. 6 different factors, at least I mentioned, which sometimes not very obviously linked to anxiety, but nevertheless, huge contribution, even 1 or 2 of them, if you experience something like that, can be big factors to take your anxiety under control. It's not just about certain food. You eat that, you feel better. So it's really about how your body is feeling now and what is missing in your body. Then you have to bring accordingly in a balanced way. Everything can be addressed from food point of view, especially because that's where all that profound nutrients coming from, but also supplemented to give you that kind of sense of break and satisfaction and positivity. And we can address one point while you supplementing you and helping your body coping with the other things.